Representative Jason Fields, and I'm asking you to support and vote for Dora Drake on August 11th. Dora has the temperament to go to Madison and fight for exactly what we need in the 11th Assembly District. Whether it's protecting frontline workers, working on economic development policies that benefit Milwaukee and Glendale, or criminal justice reform, Dora is exactly what we need in the 11th Assembly District. And so I'm urging you all to support and vote for Dora Drake on August 11th.
The Forum, exclusively on Facebook Live, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Call in or text live 414-395-0484. Thought-provoking talk radio covering all topics from local to national and everything in between. It may not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know. That's The Forum, exclusively on Facebook Live, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Podcasts available on our website, theforum2.com. Check us out. Good morning, welcome to the program. Today is Monday, August 11th, 2020. We are one day from the primary election here in the state of Wisconsin. And so a lot of you have already voted, which is good. There are a number of you that will be voting on election day. I am one of those individuals. We're going to talk about some details that you should know before you head to the polls tomorrow. As you probably already know, there's going to be a number of safety precautions that are going to be implemented. And so I want you to be aware of that. It may not be different than other safety precautions we probably have gotten used to, just going out in public, running our errands, etc. But you may not be used to seeing some of these safety protocols at the actual polling locations. Typically, any normal election that, isn't during a pandemic, we have 180 polling locations that are open in the city of Milwaukee. That has been reduced to 168. So not a major sizable decrease in polling locations. And what I'm hoping is that polling locations will just be combined, not shuttered completely. And if your polling location has been combined with another, I would like to think that the Election Commission has sent you advance notice of such. But again, there is no guarantee because we do have a new executive director of the Election Commission. It makes me a little bit nervous. Now, as I understand, this woman whose name I just had it, she has one of those hyphenated names. I just saw her name. She's got some experience in administering elections, but it's just always, it's a difficult situation when you have someone that is new, especially because these are unprecedented times. And how we administered elections, even as recently as April, is not going to be how we administer this one. And certainly not how we're going to administer the large presidential election coming up in November. And I say that because I was a city employee when we had a new elections commission executive director, and that turned out to be an unmitigated disaster. And we can't have another disaster. Too much negative attention has been shed on Wisconsin going back to 2016 because our undervotes for Hillary Clinton here in this state has just been the ire of the nation because it was us, it was Detroit, and it was Philadelphia. It also has been used as a proxy for race. Those lazy blacks. Those blacks didn't vote in Milwaukee and Detroit and Philadelphia. And for 4 years, I've been trying to give explanation and clarity to that because anytime you can point your finger at someone, it's so easy to point your finger at black people. We can say, Hillary didn't pay enough attention to these very Democratic blue wall states. She was out trying to get additional real estate for the Democrats, either for herself or for future Democratic campaigns. But that doesn't matter. We're supposed to vote for her anyway. The fact that there are a number of people that we are asking to vote whose lives are not going to fundamentally change, whether it's Hillary Clinton in the White House, whether it's Donald Trump. There's some people that are suffering. Now, they're suffering more in a more compound way now because of the pandemic, but voting for Hillary Clinton was not going to be the be-all, end-all for white supremacy and low wages and out of control prescription drug costs and environmental issues and lead in our water. So you got to keep in mind, when you're asking somebody to vote, you're asking them to vote for political issues for somebody else, right? Because the issues of those who are downtrodden and in bad shape those are last. It's not tax cuts for the rich, right? Those are usually first. So you got to keep all of that in mind. And the outreach strategy that Hillary Clinton had was poor. I'm not sure what the outreach strategy is for Joe Biden because it's difficult to gauge during the pandemic. We come to find out that he's not going to be coming to Milwaukee to accept the nomination. It would have been nice if he would have come, and I think precautions could have been taken so that he could come here safely, but whatever. Do you want to talk about his vice presidential selection? And I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now. So a lot of you want Stacey Abrams, and a lot of you, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, the outspoken mayor of Atlanta, who has done, I think, one heck of a job in dealing with not just the coronavirus issues of that city, but the pushback from the Republican governor of Georgia, where she wanted to implement a mask mandate because Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms is looking at science. But then you have the Republican governor of the state of Georgia who was looking at essentially politics. And so there's a clash there. But there's a reason why she and Stacey Abrams are not on the short list of vice presidential selection. I think CNN did an article. They rated the top 5 people that are most likely to get the vice presidential nomination from Joe Biden, and none of them are men, which is not a shocker. But I've long said, even before the CNN article came out, you guys need to leave some room for disappointment. Because there's what we feel as a body politic, as voters, as citizens of this nation, who we think would be best in that position, though those individuals who might make up for some of Joe Biden's shortcomings. And Joe Biden has got a lot of shortcomings. And let's be honest with each other, his biggest shortcoming is his age. I just don't see Joe Biden running for a second term. He'd be, 82 years old, running for a second term? I don't think so. So, who Joe Biden selects has got the wind at their back and the odds forever in their favor of becoming the next president of the United States. And so who he picks is really, really important. But there's a reason why these 2 specific African-American women, or even Michelle Obama is not on the short list, Oprah is not on the short list, and there's a reason for that. And when I give the reason why, and this is just partially my personal opinion and partially from an article that I found on Politico.com, you got to leave some room to be disappointed. When Barack Obama picked Joe Biden in 2008, I left room to be disappointed because there's the people that we want to see in that vice presidential spot, and then there's the internal workings and all of the vetting and some of the things that these candidates have, in their background that the Republicans are going to exploit. Either way, the Trump campaign is going to make, I think, 85 days, give or take, from the election? So the next 70, let's say, of the 85 days until the November 3rd election is going to be not just decimating and destroying Joe Biden, where Russia is involved in that too, but also destroying and decimating the character of whoever Joe Biden selects to be his running mate. So again, leave room to be disappointed. And so I want to ask you guys this very serious question before I say my hellos. I'm just going to throw it out there so we can maybe start adjusting to what could be some potential disappointment. Would you guys be okay? This is between us now. I won't tell anybody else. But would you be okay with Elizabeth Warren being Joe Biden's vice presidential selection? Would you be okay with it? Would you be mad? Would you get mad enough to not vote for Joe Biden if he picked Elizabeth Warren? Michelle Obama's not on the short list. Keisha Lance Bottoms is not on the short list. Stacey Abrams is not on the short list. And there's a reason why. And it's very disappointing because they're not looking at the purity of what these women could bring to the ticket. It could bring a level of social and cultural credibility, but social and cultural credibility doesn't really go all that far. You'd think it does. In the hearts and minds of those who are in the protected classes, if you're a black woman, well, of course you want to see another black woman become the vice president of the United States and also president of the U.S. Senate. It's a very big deal. That's history making that is earth shifting as far as how poignant that would be for this country, especially in these days and times. They're going to divide America. History is the pre-George Floyd America and then the post-George Floyd America. I think the post-George Floyd America will be much more reflective of diversity and voices that we have never heard of before now coming to the surface and becoming prominent like they should have been some time ago. But the question is, would you be okay with Elizabeth Warren being Joe Biden's vice presidential nomination? And I say that because it could be possible. We're going to find out this week, come hell or high water, who he's going to select. I'm not going to make any predictions because what's the point of that? But it looks like Elizabeth Warren could be leading amongst the other contenders. Good morning, Vanessa Garrett, Benita Zarate Jones, good morning to you. David Todd, good morning to you, sir. Denise Jones, good morning. Tammy Reed, good morning. Marlon Pitchford says, what up, people? Udell Harris says, good morning, my brother. Good morning to you as well, Udell. Camille Mayes, good morning. Leah Delaney, good morning to you. Leah Delaney says, good advice. Flexing on our level of disappointment. Hasn't this whole year been a disappointment? Don't expect to be like greatly relieved by who Joe Biden selects as his running mate. If we're disappointed by Joe Biden's running mate, all that means is that it's just another thing that disappointed us during the year 2020. So don't think this is going to be like the great victory. The great victory turns out when the vote by mail system hasn't been tampered with and people's votes are actually allowed to count on November 3rd, and we find out that Donald Trump has been defeated. Leave some room for disappointment there as well, because the number of people that will be mailing their votes in, it's going to take a while to count those votes, because if the votes are postmarked on November 3rd, they're not going to be counted by the time we get our election results starting at 7 o'clock? When do the first polls close on the East Coast? Our time, like 6 o'clock, our time, Central Time. So we're not going to know for a while, and I just don't want it to be close. The Donald Trump appointed Republican mega donor Louis DeJoy has begun to fire top level executives at the U.S. Postal Service. We're talking about career Postal Service employees. He is now starting to fire them. Think of it as a Saturday night massacre of the U.S. Postal Service. They are gutting this democracy before us. And the most disappointing thing about that, and there's a lot of disappointing things about it, you can't do anything. We never knew how much power that a president could have until you got a president that wanted to exploit all of the power that they had. I never knew. I thought that there were safeguards. I thought that there was in case of emergency, break this political apparatus, under the glass case in case you have a rogue president. None of that stuff works. It's not the courts. It's not Congress. It's not even a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives. Donald Trump is able to just go on unchecked, including furthering his business acumen while he is president. Nothing can stop him. He can't even get arrested. He can't even get charged. People around him can go to jail, can get felonies, but he is untouchable. The most untouchable human being on planet Earth is Donald Trump. That is just... And now other countries are starting to realize that. I don't know if America ever gets our status back. Because if you just look at one of the things in which we used to lead, at least there's a perception that we led when it came to public health. We are a miserable failure. We are literally the worst on the planet. There are third world countries that have done better at mitigating the coronavirus than us. Was it Vietnam, right? I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think it was Vietnam. 97 million people with zero, you understand? Zero coronavirus deaths. 100 million people in that country and nobody died from the coronavirus. But here, early on, in April, we needed ventilators because we were expecting people to die. Now we're well over 150,000 deaths in this country. And regular flu season, let's keep in mind, it's going to add 36 to 46,000 more deaths to that. They're having a Harley rally in Sturgis. Did you see that? Did you see the pictures from Sturgis? Did you see it? For years I decided, I'm going to get a motorcycle, then I'm not going to get a motorcycle. They're very dangerous. And it's not even that I would be a bad motorcycle driver. You have to watch out for other people on the road that might bump into you, whatever the case may be. But I think I might consider buying a motorcycle because in about 6 months, there's going to be a lot of very inexpensive used motorcycles for sale because of the 250,000 people who are packed together at the Sturgis Harley Davidson rally. The first thing that Harley Davidson should have done, because they are a Milwaukee based company, in fact, part of Milwaukee's history and heritage is Harley Davidson motorcycles, an international brand, the symbol of America, the symbol of freedom. Harley Davidson should have said, we love you, Harley riders. They've got their own group called the Hogs, the Harley Owners Group. That's where Hog comes from, the Hogs. Harley Davidson should have said to all the different chapters of hog owners all over the world, don't go to Sturgis. Don't, you're making us look bad. This is a public health pandemic. People are going to associate our brand of motorcycles with tens of thousands of new coronavirus infections, but they didn't do it. Didn't do it. Good morning, Antonio Glenn. Cassandra D, good morning to you. Judy Brown. Yes, I would be okay with Elizabeth Warren. I got to get back to that story because let's put it this way. If Elizabeth Warren gets the nod from Joe Biden, then the apparatus that Joe Biden used to select her is one that is very disappointing. But again, this is the year 2020 where everything has disappointed us. Like, even what has gone right this year? I don't know. Tammy Reed says, I wouldn't get mad enough not to vote. Well, good, if Elizabeth Warren becomes Joe Biden's VP pick. Tammy Reed also says, I'd be meh on the pick, though, because this is a different moment in time for me. Aaron Crockett said, I could miss all the Pocahontas comments that will come with that VP pick. It was hard for me to forgive her. I'm still not sure if I forgave Elizabeth Warren for that. And I don't want to rehash that whole thing, because if I do rehash her Pocahontas, and I shouldn't say that because that's racist. Her claiming to be Native American because there was some rumor in her family that she was partially Native American, so she applied, I believe, to law school, trying to go to law school for free, using her tribal ancestry, which we come to find out she didn't have. She was something like 1% Native American because she took her 23andMe DNA Ancestry.com test. So she's not Native American, but then on her application for law school, she wanted to have her law school paid for because of her tribal membership. And I use that as a shining example of, and this is back when she was running to get the Democratic nomination, and I used that to push people away from her because I thought there were better candidates to get the nomination than Elizabeth Warren at the time. All right? But that's a kind of white supremacy that is often used by white folks. It's like they have a history and this heritage of, the Native Americans got it really, really bad. They did. The Trail of Tears and smallpox and the alcohol that was thrust into Native American communities to have them sign treaties to give up all of their land because they were under the influence of the white man's alcohol. A whole bunch of stuff. The Native Americans really got a really bad deal in this nation. But then for a white woman to say, oh, well, if I can pretend or say I'm Native American to go to college for free, that's a particular type of white superiority. That I can be white because, that is the dominant culture in America and I always get the benefit of the doubt and just my life chances are better if I'm white. But if I can be Native American and get my college paid for, then let me dip my toe into that pool. That is offensive because I and those like me can't just all of a sudden decide to be white when I apply for a job or when I apply for college admission. I can't just say, oh, there's some white blood because a slave master raped one of my great-great-grandmothers. Can I get some of that white supremacy? Can I tell a police officer when I get pulled over, officer, my great-great-grandmother was half Caucasian. Can you please let me go this time? Hey, judge, don't give me the maximum sentence because, 6 generations ago, there were white people in my family. Can I get some of that white supremacy that doesn't, reflect nearly as bad on me as it would if I was black? It doesn't work that way. Good morning, C. Renee Brown. Alden Higgins says, good morning, brother. Judy Brown, question for you, Sherwin. Why do you believe that Warren could be the VP candidate? I'm going to get to that, Judy. I really have reasons. See, I'm feeling Susan Rice. He doesn't need Warren or Harris. He'll carry those states, but we do need both in Congress. So if you pick a U.S. senator from a traditionally blue state, So if Kamala Harris was the VP selection, which that would be bad, we wouldn't have to worry about losing a Senate seat because I think the governor. Oh God, yeah, the governor of California is a Democrat, and so a Democratic governor would select the replacement for Kamala Harris. But a lot of folks don't know how Kamala Harris got her start in politics. Um, it's a long, sordid history, and there was a long time, very powerful Speaker of the California State Assembly. His last name was Brown, and he was a married man. And here's the thing: I got to be careful when I even tell this story because people will turn it into me being anti-woman, which I am not. My whole political career essentially has been started and supported by black women. So I don't ever want any of my comments that can be taken the wrong way or may sound ambiguous to ever think that I am anti-woman. I have done everything that I possibly can to amplify women's voices, especially black women's voices in political discourse. When I was on broadcast radio, the only people that I would let fill in for me were African American women. In fact, my very good friend Michelle Bryant, who is running for the 6th Senate District, she'll be on the ballot tomorrow, got her show because I let her fill in exclusively for me when I was at WNOV. So don't ever take my comments as being anti-woman, but Kamala Harris being as ambitious as she is, and I don't blame her for being ambitious. Everyone should be ambitious. Everyone should always aim for the stars, and even if you miss, you're amongst the clouds. But she had an illicit affair with a married man, a very powerful Speaker of the California State Assembly, who gave her very cushy jobs, paying her $90,000 and $100,000 a year for essentially no work. He bought her a BMW. She was essentially his concubine. She was, and that is how she got. And he also funded a large portion of her first campaign for the California Attorney General position. If you come to power like that, okay, I understand it. But then if you get close to being the vice presidential nominee, or if you become the vice presidential nominee, all of that stuff is going to come out. So how someone attains power is useful information when you think about how they may exhibit power. I just want folks to know, and all that information is out there if you want to do your research. I mean, it's a likely story, I guess, because there are some people who are ambitious and they want to get to the top and they want to achieve their dreams no matter what, by any means necessary. But they would destroy Kamala Harris's reputation, because I assure you that a lot of people that are supporting her, because you have a beehive of Kamala Harris supporters. In fact, they're very fierce on Twitter. They're probably going after me right now on Twitter because of what I said about Kamala Harris, even though it's true. She has very fierce and loyal supporters that have not left her side. But a lot of them don't know that, how she came to, the foundation of her political career started as she was, participating in an illicit affair with a married man. What else do we got here? Tammy Reed says, I thought Harley pulled out of its support of Sturgis this year. I saw that reported somewhere. I should hope so. Like, Harley wouldn't have like vendor booths and the Harley stage where they're bringing in musical acts. Like, I'd imagine they probably pulled out of that. But even prior to the Sturgis rally beginning, Harley should have said, don't go cancel the whole thing. But maybe they did and people didn't listen, because those Harley riders, there's something else. All right, let's get to why I think Elizabeth Warren might be the VP pick. Alicia Griffin says, I agree with you on Kamala. She is, quote, interesting, and that's being nice. Kamala minus Montel. I'm not sure what that means, but some inside joke my brain is not comprehending at the time. All right, so there's a CNN story that ranked the top 5 likely selections that Joe Biden is going to pick. And look, we might know this morning, actually. The best day for Joe Biden to announce who he's going to select as his running mate would be on a Monday. This would be the best day. So it might happen today. But they're using a different measure this time, it seems. Because I don't know if Barack Obama didn't use this metric that Joe Biden is using right now. Obama did not. And they're using how much money these VP shortlisters are raising for Biden. In a roundabout sort of way, these women who are on the short list are buying their way to the VP spot. From Politico.com, the Democrats vying to be Joe Biden's running mate have made the rounds on Sunday news shows. They've enlisted surrogates to talk them up to the vetting committee and have been preparing for their one-on-one interviews with Biden himself. But as the vetting process enters its final stage, there's another lesser noticed facet to the VEEPstakes. How much cash the contenders have raised for him and their ability to juice donations if they are chosen. So before I get into the rest of that, Donald Trump is going to have an almost unlimited war chest. I have not recently checked to see how much he has as far as campaign cash on hand, but amplify Donald Trump's available cash on hand to hire staff, to hire state directors, to do digital advertising, to do all of these different types of campaign outreach. Plus, he's going to be amplified by the same foreign governments that helped him get elected in 2016. Vladimir Putin still has an interest in Donald Trump getting reelected. If it isn't to allow Russia to still annex territory and increase their power, if it isn't because Donald Trump wants to essentially disband NATO, it's because with Donald Trump as president, America is destroyed. We're destroyed. We are not one nation under God anymore. We are divisible because it says indivisible. We are very much divisible. This has been Vladimir Putin's goal since he was a member of the KGB when the Berlin Wall fell. That was his worst nightmare because the Soviets back then wanted to keep and maintain their communist territory. And so when the Berlin Wall fell and communism died, Vladimir Putin, he told people this. It was written about, but nobody paid any attention to it. He vowed from that moment on, when communism started to fall in 1987, he was going to destroy America, and he got his wish. And he's not done yet. We are a destroyed nation. And we saw it coming. We couldn't do anything about it. We could barely even sanction Russia for what they're doing to us right now. Back to the article. Of Biden's prospective running mate, Senator Elizabeth Warren, has brought in the most money for him, and that is why I say that she is likely going to be the number one contender. She has raised $7,700,000 combined from a high donor event, which she vocally swore off during her own campaign, and a grassroots event that drew 50,000 different participants. She also sent multiple emails to her own small dollar list, as well as his, on Tuesday of last week. No, tomorrow, not last week. Warren will host another event for Biden alongside Representative Katie Porter from California, with tickets ranging from, this is Trump money. So Elizabeth Warren and Katie Porter are doing a fundraiser for Joe Biden tomorrow, and if you want to buy a ticket, the cheapest ticket is $250, and they go all the way up to $25,000 according to an invitation obtained by Politico.com. Senator Kamala Harris, who headlined two fundraisers alongside Biden and appeared at several other events, has raised more than $5 million for him, according to a source familiar with the total. And Senator Tammy Duckworth. Now remember, all of these women are on the short list in that CNN article that I posted, I think, on Saturday. But CNN didn't give specific reasons as to why these 5 women were selected as Joe Biden's top 5, people to pick from, because they raised him the most money. And we cannot all of a sudden, run on these high moral principles that people are going to vote because it's the right thing to do, and you're going to vote blue no matter who. You need to have money. The influence of money in politics is just as profound now as it ever was. And so if there's someone that can bring not just female energy to the ticket, which I certainly think is needed with Joe Biden being the nominee, but can also help Joe Biden get as financially competitive as he possibly can with Donald Trump. Because when it comes down to it, I don't want to minimize this at all, but the policies are going to be the same, right? It's more about what's the future of the nation going to look like. If Elizabeth Warren gets the nod, and look, there's no guarantee that she gets the nod, but I know she's raised $8 million for him in 2 events. And that's just 2 events, right? So she can do a lot more once she becomes the vice presidential selection, right? You got to take that into account. So we're looking more at the future of the nation. Like if Elizabeth Warren is selected, then she very well may be the next president of the United States. But if she's just the VP for Biden's first term, assuming that Joe Biden wins, the policies wouldn't change all that much. Now, there might be less attention to policies designed to help those people of color who have been struggling in this nation. Because Elizabeth Warren, even when she tried, she failed miserably by calling herself Native American to go to college for free. Kamala Harris, who headlined two fundraisers alongside Biden and appeared at several other events, has raised more than $5 million, according to a source familiar with the total. And Senator Tammy Duckworth has co-headlined 3 fundraisers with Joe and Jill Biden and appeared at other events, and she brought in more than $3 million for the campaign. For the VP hopefuls and their donor backers, hosting events that generate eye-popping totals is a, quote, flex, or means of showing off their political muscle, said one Democrat affiliated with one of the considered running mate candidates. Another Democrat aligned with a different VP contender called it a, quote, measurable sign of enthusiasm behind certain people. Though Biden has said he's looking first and foremost for a governing partner with whom he is simpatico, fundraising prowess is unquestionably a plus. If Elizabeth Warren can raise almost $8 million in 2 events, what can she do if she then becomes a part of the ticket? She has a very strong following as well. And white suburban women who have the ability to sway this election as much as high African American turnout. Because remember, white suburban women broke for Trump in 2016. If they break back toward the Democrats, and if Elizabeth Warren is their pick, and listen, I can't speak on behalf of white suburban women because I don't know what they're voting for. I don't know what their issues are. Are they voting for style points? They're voting for personality? I don't know what it is. But if winning is the goal, okay, because here's what you can do. Joe Biden can say, hey, America, hey, African Americans who are the most loyal voting bloc for Democrats. Because remember, we as African Americans use Democratic policies to help us achieve fairness and justice probably more than anybody else. It is one of the many tools. It's not the only thing. So when people, in this real ignorant, smug kind of way, always say, oh, you black people always vote for Democrats, that is because we have more stock in the Democratic Party, and they are willing to put forth ideas and policies that address our immediate needs more than anybody else. So black people gravitating toward Democrats makes a lot of sense for our overall agenda. Now, that also leaves the door open for Democrats to take advantage of black people and to expect us to just show up even when we don't have a policy agenda. But that explains it. And so we lean much more heavily, way, way, way more on Democrats to do the right thing, because Republicans have figured out the formula. They can not only win without the black vote, they prefer to win without the black vote. In fact, if they can marginalize or reduce or interfere with the black vote or suppress the black vote, that is exactly what they plan on doing. But there's some white women that can benefit just as much from Republican policies as they can for Democratic policies. Now, this might be a little bit different because Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and depending upon who Donald Trump selects on the Supreme Court, if she does not make it until Joe Biden is sworn in, that could be, abortion would be unconstitutional. We've been flirting with that for several years now, and so far there's been a couple of cases that have been turned back over to the states, but abortion is very much on the ballot. And maybe that's somebody's only issue. I know that there are a lot of conservatives and evangelicals where that is their single issue. And so that could be their driving force, just like it was for Trump, because he agreed to appoint all of these conservative federal judges. Some people, it's just the right to life, right? And so if Elizabeth Warren checks the box for suburban white women, because here's the thing, I don't want to discount my people, but our job is pretty well defined. And it's not just voting in November. We already know that. But it's also voting in elections like tomorrow. Because in the event, in some years in which we get a Democratic majority in the U.S. Senate, and you have a Democratic president of the United States, and let's say we get a Democratic state Senate, or in God knows how many years a Democratic Wisconsin State Assembly, the Democrats that we choose tomorrow in this primary election will be the support system that we will need to begin to correct and reverse some of these policies. So we're actually voting for a support staff of Democrats tomorrow. Or areas in which you live, there's a Republican primary. You're voting for the Republicans that will be governing in a post-Trump era. That's why primary elections are so important. These are the foundational Democrats. Whenever you have a Democratic primary, a primary election in which there are Democrats running against one another, we are being asked by these candidates, what kind of Democrat do you want in the post-Trump era? What kind of Democrat do you want in the event that there's another blue wave in 2022, which I don't know if there will be, or 2024? That is why these primary elections are so incredibly important. Let me also say this, and I'm going to get to your comments in a second. So I voted by mail on the April 7th disaster election in Wisconsin. And then I checked the box. Check here if you want to receive all of your ballots in the mail for all the elections coming up, Sherwin. I think it said that. Check this box if you want to receive every mail-in ballot. Now, in April, we didn't know what the pandemic was going to look like in August, right? So just to be on the safe side, I checked the box to receive all of my ballots via mail. Do you understand that the election is tomorrow and I never received my mail-in ballot? I never received it. Now, I'm going to go vote in person anyway because it's not that I don't trust the post office. It's just I don't trust the post office. And I'm not the only one that didn't receive a ballot, that checked the box. And maybe it was a clerical error or maybe it was on purpose, intentional. I don't know. But if we have those kind of inconsistencies going into November 3rd, because there's a lot of people, because remember, flu season is going to be one of our issues as well when we vote in November. And so there might be a larger number of people that are going to choose the option to vote by mail to receive their ballots on November 3rd. And here is what I'm dreadful of, the scenario I'm most dreadful of. That a lot of people say, you know what, I'm going to vote by mail for November. Maybe they had a bad experience if they go and vote in person tomorrow, which I doubt because it's going to be a low turnout election. And they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to get my ballot mailed to me and I'm going to mail it back in. What if a number of individuals like myself this cycle don't receive their mail-in ballots for the presidential election, and then we all of a sudden have a flood, a rush of people that otherwise would have voted from home, that otherwise would have voted curbside, or would have gotten their ballot in the mail, would have dropped it off at a number of different sites throughout the city or wherever the case may be, that can't do that because their ballot never came, and now they're all flooding to the polls. We're already going to have long lines in November, and we're still going to be wearing masks. We're still going to be social distancing. Think about all of the people that may not receive their ballot on November 3rd that feel this incredible urgency to vote in that presidential election. They're not going to miss it for the world. And then they add to the lines and the chaos and the 6-foot social distancing that we likely will still have in place in November. That's how Donald Trump can win, on technicalities like that. And they're already working that angle. But that angle only works if we don't know that they're working that angle and they're working that angle. You know, if they don't send certain ballots out, a certain number of ballots out, they can see what kind of an effect that has on the electorate. If Sherwin Hughes didn't receive his ballot in the mail, there's other Sherwin Hugheses out there that just wouldn't vote tomorrow at all. And they can say, oh, well, 7% of the ballots that were requested by mail didn't go out. And of that 7% that never received their ballot in the mail, 92% of them never voted at all. If you don't think they're that granular with calculating how Donald Trump can get elected, then you don't know how this thing works. They're getting down to the microfiber of this electorate. They are using data that would make Facebook shirk, and how they can figure out how Donald Trump can lose the popular vote but win the electoral college. And it's little things like this. So the Republicans operate in the margins. They operate in this like quantum physics level, like between atoms, this really small space. Voter ID is operating in that small space because they know maybe 1% of people can't get an ID. And in some races, that's all you need. Marginalize a single percent, one person out of 100 that can't get an ID, multiplied times 700, 800,000 voters can sway an election. Democrats don't operate in the margins. We go for the Big Ten. We want everybody to vote and vote early and vote often. We don't necessarily dice out and slice out different groups and different constituencies. It's, hey, black people, all of you go vote because something, Dr. King. Or they send us text messages from different groups and different organizations. I was getting up to 6 text messages a day. Hey, Sherwin. And of course, they know my name. And when I would get them, I would take screenshots of them and I would post them, just so you guys could see. And what did I see when I posted those screenshots of them? Hey, Sherwin, want to remind you, there's an election coming up. A lot of people said, Sherwin, I got the exact same text message. So that's the Democrats' philosophy. Just use this bulldozer approach and get all of your potential Democrats or Democratic leaners to go out and vote, where Republicans are much more surgical and wanting to suppress little tiny pieces of the vote with residency requirements. You have to live in the same address for 28 days. You got to pay all your fines and restitutions in Florida, even after you got your voting rights restored. You had $10,000 in restitution to pay, even though you're technically off paper. If you don't pay all those fines, you still can't vote. That is how they win. That's how they win. All right, let's read some comments from you. Hey, there's my girl, Michelle Bryant. Judy Brown, wow, I wonder why the major cable news outlets haven't been speaking about Warren, given those fundraising numbers. Well, it's in Politico, so. Warren has also enjoyed, hello, Michelle Bryant. Good luck to you tomorrow, Michelle. You got my vote. Warren has also enjoyed a strong group of black women who supported her during her candidacy for president. I honestly can't tell what's going to happen with this VP pick. That's why I've been saying, Michelle, we got to leave some room to be disappointed. Because listen, Joe Biden is in the position he is in right now because Barack Obama selected him to be his running mate. Can you just imagine all the other candidates that Barack Obama had to choose from, including Hillary Clinton? Including Hillary Clinton, that Barack Obama could have made it his running mate. And I kind of wish he would have, and I'm sure Hillary wishes he would have, because there would have been no Benghazi. Right? There would have been no emails because Hillary Clinton never would have been Secretary of State. She would have been Vice President of the United States and President of the U.S. Senate. That would have mitigated, 2016 would not have existed. If Hillary Clinton was Vice President of the United States, whatever dirt that existed about her would have come up in 2008 and it all would have been aired out. Now the Republicans would have manufactured something else, but there would have been no emails, right? There would have been no crowded Democratic primary. There would have been no Bernie Sanders trying to take the nomination away from her, because if she was the VP selection in 2008, this would be a different country. You wouldn't have to worry about your unemployment benefits, your federal benefits getting cut from $600 to $400 if Hillary Clinton would have been Barack Obama's running mate. And you know what I was saying back then? I'm mad at myself, but I'm glad that I've grown and matured, can look back in the error of my ways. I said, America wouldn't be ready. Remember we said that? I wasn't the only one. Stop it. Stop trying to hide now, because I wasn't the only one. America's not ready for a black man and a white woman to be on the same ticket. Can't do it. We need an old white guy. That's how I justified Joe Biden. And Joe Biden was going to bring Pennsylvania or something. Like if Joe Biden was the selection, he would bring, I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania. No, you're not. You're from Delaware. That's right, isn't he? I don't know where Joe Biden's from. Maybe I should know that. But had Hillary been on the ticket, this would be a different country. You'd have a two-term woman president. We're one of the last industrialized countries, Western nations in the world, to have a woman in top executive leadership. And who knows how long it's going to be from this point forward. But I was saying, well, America's not ready for a black president and a woman. Here's what I also learned now that I'm older and mature in this post-George Floyd world. If America's not ready, make America ready. We don't care if you're not ready. We don't care if you don't like seeing Black Lives Matter spray painted all over your street. We're going to make you ready. Back then it was like, well, America's not ready for a woman and a black man. Let's just give America a little bit at a time. Nope. Give America more than it can chew. And let them digest it slowly. Let it be painful going down. But we have to stop thinking about what America is and isn't ready for. They weren't ready for a black man. We actually were ready. Because when you look back on some of the most shining and important and impressive moments in the last 248 years of American history, a lot of those moments are contained within the 8 years of Barack Obama. So people thought, oh, we're not ready for a black president, including some black people say, oh, America just gonna kill him. America did try to assassinate his character, but when we look back on a tried and true, loyal, faithful, honest, decent family man, husband, father, and good steward of the American people, it was the black guy. The black guy we thought this country wasn't ready for. Some of you have health insurance from the marketplace. That's the black guy. The white guy's trying to take the marketplace away so you can't get health insurance during a pandemic. Alden Higgins says, I wouldn't mind VP Warren, Rice, or Harris. But see, Susan Rice, what if Susan Rice can't raise any money for the ticket, right? Or what if the people that are supporting Susan Rice are not traditional Democratic donors. They'll just like, yay, I like Susan Rice, but are you going to give lots and lots of money to help Joe Biden become competitive? And I'd imagine a lot of people that are supporting Joe Biden haven't given him any money. I've been contributing to his campaign since, oh, geez, what year is this? 20. When did Joe Biden announce? April of 19? I made my contribution, my first contribution, it had to have been May of 2019. Y'all got to understand that we have to buy this democracy. I know you don't want to. I know you want to live in an idealistic world up in the clouds where money has no influence. I'm just going to go vote. But do you know that like every $10 you contribute, you can potentially influence another 2 votes? Think about that. And it's also very hard times because a lot of people are out of work. But there is a class of individuals that have money, are going to have money no matter what. These are the people that are almost completely inoculated from who's president, Democrat, Republican, who has the majority in Congress. There is a class of money that exists that is independent of politics that can fuel the entire thing. But there's one class that's larger than them. It's us. Regular people don't have to be high dollar donors. But now, when they do these events, like Katie Porter and Elizabeth Warren are doing an event, I think it's Elizabeth Warren and Katie Porter, I think. They can say, oh, $250 is the minimum ticket. But we can't go to those events. But there's other small dollar amounts that we can give. You know who else perfected that mode of operation? Barack Obama. There's people that were giving Barack Obama $5, $6, $7. They were giving it quarterly or they were giving it monthly. That was the first time I have seen a presidential candidate text donate to 772-822 to give Barack Obama $10. And he outraised Mitt Romney in 2012. It was one quarter in which Barack Obama raised $99 million from those small dollar donations from people just giving their little Starbucks money. And don't go to Starbucks anyway. You shouldn't be going to Starbucks because we don't like Starbucks. Alicia Griffin says, your point about Warren, the cash, the suburban woman pool, makes tons of sense, maybe the best sense, but let's keep it real. All elections, sometimes you vote for a candidate, then in others you vote against one. Ain't nobody all that enthused about Biden, so ain't nobody voting for him. Folks are voting against Trump. I absolutely hate not having a candidate that I'm pumped for. Hate it. But I'm be the happiest to vote against this one in November. All right, I think we got the gist of that. You know, if you want to fall in love with a candidate, and that's something us Democrats, nobody loved Donald Trump either. Republicans would say, ooh, I don't like him. Oh, he grabs the pussies. Sorry if your kids are listening. Sorry. They didn't like him. We make it it's like we're selecting our presidents or our members of Senate and House that we vote for, like who would win the high school class president. Oh, I like so-and-so. People liked Gwen Moore. I guess they still do. It's about the policies. Let me say something. I would rather have somebody, and this is just my old age and years of experience working in politics and just having my heart broken so many times by likable candidate. You know who else I liked? You know who I liked? John Edwards. Remember him? Wife was dying of cancer, got his mistress pregnant, paid the mistress with campaign money. Remember, I like John Edwards. Got to stop liking these candidates. I'd rather have somebody that I don't like, Democrat. With all y'all, I'm sick of y'all accusing me of being a Republican. That's just got to stop. I would rather have a Democrat that's less likable personality-wise, that's going to get all the policy done. You understand? They got a rough personality and they don't smile. They do this all the time, but they can get policies delivered to black communities. I like your work ethic. I like your political agenda. I ain't got to like how you look in pictures. I ain't got to like how you look when you're wearing your suit. I don't got to like all that. I don't got to like you based on your attractiveness. Can you get it done? Can you get it done? Because then that's what I like. I like your work. I like your ability to get policies that can change lives. There can be an unlikable person that can get the work done. And we're square. You know how many times I've had to work with people that I don't like, but they're really hard workers? I'm not going to kick it with them at 5 o'clock. I'm not going to their little Christmas parties, little ugly sweater parties. I'm not going to happy hour with them. But when we on the job, hey, it's all business. I appreciate that. I don't got to like anybody, but can you do the work? Can you get it done? Can you? Can you go and talk to people and work with people that I have no relationships with whatsoever? I mean, talking about people that won't even answer my phone call. Can you go get those people to vote for this bill? Oh, you can? Well, then me and you can talk. Because we got work to do in the post-George Floyd America. And I'm not trying to come down on you, Alicia. We always want a candidate we can like. Let me give you this example. I liked Barack Obama. I liked him. I genuinely liked him. I like Michelle Obama. I like them both. We got lucky. We did with them because he could get it done. We can argue that, I guess, because there's some things he didn't get done. But whatever. By and large, compared to where we are right now, Barack Obama, if you want to like put it down to its bare essentials, Barack Obama prevented every one of us from getting Ebola. Remember Ebola? You barely remember Ebola because Barack Obama was like, no, sir, not today. No Ebola in my country. Stop the pandemic. Stop. He pushed a bunch of buttons to stop it and sent the CDC all over the world. Stop. So we don't have Ebola. So we can live to watch George Floyd get murdered and to see Donald Trump run for re-election. So thank you, Obama, for allowing us to live to see this. Alden Higgins says, I had to in-person vote in April because my ballot never came. Found out my address on file was wrong for some reason. This election, I finally received my ballot and sent it in. Well, at least you got yours. I didn't get mine. Kamala and the Black Agenda. I don't have the specifics at my fingertips, but when she was AG in California, the folks felt GF came up short. You know, I don't want to, because if I start bringing up Kamala Harris stuff and then she ends up being the vice presidential selection, that's going to turn a lot of people off to her. But ooh, she did some foul things. And so one example off the top of my head, I just said I wasn't going to bring it up, and here I go bringing it up. Got a big mouth, Sherwin. You know, California has had a prison overcrowding system for a very long time because if there was a poster state for the war on drugs, it was absolutely California. No question about it. And so a lot of nonviolent offenders were clogging up California's state correction system. In 2012, I believe it was December of 2012, the U.S. Supreme Court said that California's prison system was so overcrowded, it violated the 8th Amendment of the Constitution, which is cruel and unusual punishment. It was so overcrowded that it was violating the constitutional rights of not just the prisoners, ladies and gentlemen, but of the staff and the employees of the prisons. It was a violation of people's constitutional rights. It was cruel and unusual punishment, they were calling it, because the prisons were so overcrowded. And so they were ordered to release, they were at like 200% capacity, and they had to be at 131% capacity. This was set by the U.S. Supreme Court. And they were given a date. You got to be at 131% of the total capacity, which is still 31% too high. But they were given a date in which to comply. Kamala Harris was Attorney General when that consent decree came down from the U.S. Supreme Court, meaning that it's something you can't ignore. You know what Kamala Harris did? And this is something that was on her watch that she had to okay. And they tried to bring it up in debates. And this is why I wish Joe Biden, because Joe Biden knew, remember when Joe Biden got whooped by Kamala in a debate? Remember? I'm that little girl. Remember that? Ooh, Joe Biden took it on the chin. All the stuff that I just told y'all about Kamala Harris in this broadcast, Joe Biden, not only did he have it, he had it in his note cards in front of him. But if you're an old white man, you can't say anything negative about a black woman, even if it's true. Because if you're already accused of being a racist, and you say factual things that can make a black woman look bad on a national or international stage, you're even more of a racist. And us black people, we know that. So even when white people tell the truth about us, we call them a racist. That shuts the whole argument down. It's, you ever play spades? It's like having a big joker. The big joker is the race card, essentially. California prisons were ordered to release a number of inmates. And so at the time, California had a bunch of wildfires going on. And so there were nonviolent offenders that technically should have been out of jail. They were done. Like they shouldn't have been incarcerated for as long as they were in the first place. But the Supreme Court said you got to release these nonviolent offenders because you are 200% over capacity of your state prison system. Kamala Harris kept nonviolent offenders under state confinement and had them go fight wildfires because California needed as much labor as they could get to fight wildfires, and she released them only after they did fire duty. You know who she pissed off? The firefighters union, because the firefighter union could have hired more firefighters and paid them wages and salaries and given them pensions and strengthened their union, but they couldn't because Kamala Harris was using prison labor to fight fires. That's an unforgivable offense. That's an unforgivable offense. And here's the thing, Joe Biden knew that during that debate. He could have shut her down, but he didn't. And so what'll happen is, if Kamala Harris gets picked, it's little things like that that will circulate around the gossip sphere around our politics for the next 85 or 86 days until the election. That's why Kamala Harris got to raise so much money, because she knows that she needs to show some kind of financial viability for the ticket. She's got to buy her way on the ticket because she's got so much damage. Plus, Kamala Harris is a cop. Good morning, Francine Hale. Get ready, America, says Francine Hale. Ronald Gergen says, I'm listening. Alicia Griffin, I was with you and I matured too, but Obama didn't choose Hillary as his running mate because GF came at him dirty. Who is GF? Why am I not knowing who GF is? Girlfriend? Why do I not know who GF? Well, you're going to tell me, I'm sure, in the next post. GF came at him dirty during the campaign to cover himself. She gave her Secretary of State. Smart, but I digress. To be real, American, for many valid reasons, wasn't ready for that white woman, Hillary. Who's GF? My bro, it's Alicia. Oh, I'm saying their name wrong. I'm sorry. Kids is listening, but whatevs. It's been said plenty, and it needs to be keep being said. I'm sorry, Alicia. I hate when people mess my name up. Do you understand that people will send me messages in my inbox for whatever reason? And hey, Sherman. I just want to say hello, Sherman. Thank you, Sherman, for it literally says my name as you're typing the message to me, and people will type Sherman. Saying it is one thing, but typing it, that's Alicia. Alicia. I'm still saying it wrong. Can I call you Miss Griffin? I'll go. Michelle Bryant, my mama never given money to a candidate until Obama. You know what, Michelle? When I brought up that example, that's the example that I'm using, because I remember you telling that story very eloquently a number of times that your moms gave to Barack Obama. Your mom's, Michelle, is the reason why Barack Obama became president. She never gave money to a candidate until Obama. He was on the automatic pay monthly from her account. I'm her daughter, and I don't get monthly contributions from her to my campaign. Man, listen. Let me tell you what. People have asked me to run for office a number of times. And the reason why I won't do it is because the people that sometimes tell you to run for office run from you when you ask them for a contribution, because you'll listen to those people that really believe in you and, like your policy ideas, and you say, oh, snap, I'm going to run for office. And then those same people that told you to run turn their back on you when you ask them for a contribution. It's like, well, I didn't know you was actually going to do it, Sherwin. I just said it was a suggestion. I didn't. What you mean what you need money for? You need money for what? You want a contribution? Black folks, we got to stop with that. We got to buy our way into this democracy like everybody else does. And here's the thing. We have the money. We have the money. We have the money. Mike Braswell, I won't call you a Republican again. See, my political philosophies are complicated. You know what I mean? And when people can't comprehend how difficult it is to still help deliver policy for your community, regardless of who the governor is. See, black people can't wait. That's one of the things that white people can do. That's why you got certain white state representatives. They're over here gallivanting around, thinking they're really a part of the Black Lives Matter movement and don't have to do any work whatsoever for their district because their district, while it's a Democratic assembly district, they're so rich in that particular assembly district that they can benefit just as much from Republican policies as they can from anything the Democrats would ever do. We can't have that. So if we elect an African American to a Democratic post to represent us, they have to bring the work. They can't say, well, Sherwin, we're just going to let people starve. We're going to make sure that schools are not funded because there's a Republican governor, so I'm just going to sit this one out. You can't. You have to work with them. You know what? We sometimes go to work with people every single day that we don't like, but you can't tell your boss, well, yeah, I don't like Alicia. I love you, Alicia. I'm not going to do no work today, but still going to get my paycheck, but I'm not going to do no work because I don't like some of my coworkers. Democrats and Republicans are put in their place, put where they are, to fundamentally oppose one another. But it's the compromises they come up with that are the policies that meet the needs of those people in the middle. That's how it's designed to work. It doesn't mean you get elected as a Democrat, you don't talk to, don't work with every single Republican. There have been Republicans trying to reach across the aisle to Democrats for years, but Democrats are so afraid of their caucus that if they get caught talking to one of these Republicans, the Democrats will run somebody against them. It is the most cannibalistic thing I've ever seen, and guess who it hurts? Black people. Because white folks can play with politics like that. We need it as another tool to get more justice. And you know what, Michelle, Brian, if you're still listening, you got an election tomorrow. You want to call in? I'll take your phone call if you want to call in. 414, oh Lord, what's my number? 414-395-0484. 414-395-0484. So Michelle, if you're available to call in, give us a call. We love to hear from you the day before your election. Francine Hale says, I remember Alicia Griffin. She coming at me, y'all. Not what I posted. Well, not what I meant. I vote for policy for sure, but anybody that say they don't vote, buy, hang out with somebody because of the product, well, they are lying. Ask any good marketer, PR firm, attorney, what makes people hire, buy, vote, etc. People buy, vote by relationships, who they like. You said it, Biden and Warren's policy ain't much different. You know, we also can get romanticized by candidates. They can come off as very charismatic and very likable, and they can capture those people that say, well, you know what, I just like so-and-so. I just like Tammy Duckworth, or I just like Mitt Romney, whoever the person may be. That's also showmanship. People liked Ronald Reagan. It's game. There's a level of pimp game that's in politics. So that's why there's so many like former drug dealers that then go into preaching, and so many former pimps that all of a sudden have mega churches because they use the gift of gab to manipulate people. Politicians do that as well. You can talk your way into certain seats. I tell you what, if you are a well-polished, attractive, articulate candidate running for county supervisor, you can beat anybody just on that. Just being nice and likable and well-groomed. Don't have to have any policy ideas. Alicia. Am I saying it right, Alicia? No shade, brother, but mom named me Alicia. I know I'm not the first person. I know that's the worst thing to say when you mispronounce somebody's name. I'm not the first person that's done that. If I had a nickel for every time I don't even need a nickel. A penny for every time somebody called me Sherman. Even when I was on the air, people say, Sherman, I listen to you every day. How do you listen to me every day and you've been calling me the wrong name? But Sahara Ali, God, I hope I'm saying your name right. Miss my president. I miss Barack Obama too. GF is girlfriend. So who's Barack Obama's his girlfriend? You talking about Michelle Obama? Michelle Obama, you think didn't let Barack pick Hillary? Oh, I'd hate to think. Juan Mac Jones, good morning. Very informative today. Sherwin, stop calling me out 2 times in a row today. Y'all know when you say stuff in the comment box, those are mine. My comments. Alicia, now you got it. I'm a baby boomer by age, but by heart, but by heart and look, nah, nope. So Miss Griffin, I'd accept, won't be mad, but I'd not prefer. I mean, it's a title of respect, right? Francine Hale, old black folk make everyone rich. That's why it's so many other races with businesses in our community. True. So an example of, and Dr. Umar Johnson, who's a bit of a controversial figure himself, he said this. Something like, how many million, like $30 million every Sunday? Black people contribute to churches. And I'm not going to say anything negative about churches, but there's a business aspect that is much more evident in some of our churches in our community than a Christ aspect. So the business portion is a little bit more elevated than having a safe place for all sinners to come and feel welcome to worship. Okay, some black churches are fashion shows, and because black people are so incredibly particular about our money, one of the ways you can capture black money, because black money goes on forever, because black money doesn't save and invest, black money consumes. Yell at me all you want to, black money is consumer money. When they look at consumer confidence, the first thing they look at is what are black people spending their $1.1 trillion of buying power on? One way in which you can capture black money is not always by starting a black-owned business or bar or restaurant. That's some of it. You want to get the lion's share of black money, get you some black Jesus money and start a church, because your church is a nonprofit, which means your church doesn't pay taxes. And you can capitalize off of black money that's not evaporated in the consumer sphere, so us not buying clothes and shoes and fashion, but we've always been very ornamental people. It's a part of the culture. We are. Because I'm wearing a sloppy collared shirt. The angrier I get, the more my collar just gets all lazy. But one way in which you can capture money that's available before we hit consumer culture, right? Because church is on Sunday. You go shopping on Monday, right? It's churches, because the church is a nonprofit. Not only that, all the property that the churches own, that's nonprofit as well, and it's also tax-free. There was a map when I worked at City Hall, and I saw it every day because it was on one of the walls in the Department of Administration. And it was a color-coded map. And it showed, the property, the houses, the duplexes, apartment complexes, private-owned property was shaded in, I think, like red. And then there was, so that was like businesses and storefronts, that was shaded in red. And then the rest, which was blue, were nonprofit, so schools, churches, parks, things that do not collect any property tax revenue whatsoever. Think about all the nonprofits, okay? A full 1/3, 33% of all of the available property in the city of Milwaukee. Now that number may have changed because this was some years ago. Was not collecting any property tax dollars. None, because it was nonprofits. It was somebody's Rudy Poot fly-by-night nonprofit. It was a church. It was a public school. It was a different kind of school. It was a government building. It was a park. But a full third of all the land in our 96.1 square miles of this city collects zero property tax dollars, meaning that we can't fund the necessary programs that we need to, so we're forced to defund the police. That is an issue. A lot of our money gets funneled into the nonprofit sector. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because there are some nonprofits that are out here that are doing the Lord's work. They really are. They're doing a good job because they're meeting the community where the community is. But then there's some people that start nonprofit organizations and even churches so they can capture cash that otherwise black people would spend out in the consumer economy making other people rich. There's Sherwin, not Sherman. There you go. Okay, Alicia, I said your name right now. You got a lot to say all of a sudden. Yep, politics is game, pimp game. Oh my, oh my, oh my. You got it though, Sahara Ali. That's how Trump got so many votes. He is a redneck whisperer. May not charm us, but I don't even know if Trump whispered, did he? Trump's just like, we're going to build a wall between here and Mexico. And that was the gist of it, right? I'm going to build a wall. Francine Hale says, yes, Francine Hale, black money makes America rich. Mike Braswell, spot on about consumption within the black community. My church is legitimate. We have business meetings to let the congregation know what happens to their dollars? Alicia says, I'm new to your broadcast, so you may have already addressed this. My bad. But here I go. Your take. FPC, the organization, and DeVogus, the individual, and their craftiness on demotion versus Morales. Oh, I did a whole show on that. When was my show on that? Friday? It's on the YouTube. How can I sum that up? Because I'm way over time. I only want these broadcasts to be an hour. Francine Hale says, my church pays real estate taxes on every piece of land we own. We are not exempt. We are not tax exempt. Well, that's good. Tammy Reed says, dude is a redneck shouter. Nothing whispering about his rhetoric. I'll look it up. So yeah, the Fire and Police Commission, it's too much because there's no short explanation for that. I know Stephen DeVogus. I'm a supporter of his. He's a good man. He's a decent man. He's an honest man. But also, remember when these groups and boards and organizations make decisions like demoting Chief Morales, and that shouldn't have been controversial. Listen, he came in as interim chief and they gave this man a contract. His first priority wasn't to stop all the crime and stop all the homicide. I mean, that'd be nice if he could, but no one man can do that. It was to make sure the consent decree the city of Milwaukee Police Department is under, because the ACLU sued the city of Milwaukee. They sued our police department because we had a policy of pulling over Black and Latino men at exponentially higher rates. We were profiling people via the police department. So the city of Milwaukee got sued. We lost the lawsuit. There was a settlement. Policies, procedures, and practices of the police department all had to change. And Chief Alfonso Morales, that was his top job, to make sure that we were complying with the lawsuit. He didn't do that. In fact, he made it worse. You don't have one of your officers have a party during a pandemic, murder somebody at that party, and then not fire the officer. At the very least, Mike Mattioli violated the order on, having parties. At the very least. And then firing tear gas on peaceful protesters and rubber bullets on peaceful protesters. That in and of itself, listen, he was already outside of his duties by not putting forth more effort than he did. I'm not saying he didn't put forth any, but his priority was to make sure the city of Milwaukee was in compliance with where we broke the law and harming some of our citizens by profiling them based on race. Alfonso Morales got support from the union. He was like, damn that. You know why the union came to Alfonso Morales' support? Unions never support the chief. They're on opposite sides. The unions would be the Republicans and the chiefs are the Democrats. Bad example, but a good analogy. They're never on the same side. But you know why the union paid for Alfonso Morales' his lawyer to represent him? So instead of Alfonso Morales applying with the directives, here I go, said I wasn't going to talk about it. See what you do to me? Instead of Chief Alfonso Morales said, let me get back to the basics here of what my job is complying with a lawsuit, a settlement. He hired a PR firm and a lawyer so he could keep his job, instead of doing what he was supposed to do per a lawsuit that the city of Milwaukee lost. And you know why the union came to his aid and said, we'll pay for your lawyer, hire whoever you want. You want a PR firm to help you do public relations? We'll pay for them too. Because Chief Alfonso Morales is known for going soft on his officers when they commit offenses that should get them fired or disciplined. That's why the union is supporting him, because he won't fire anybody. These rank and file cops can go rogue because they have one of their own as chief. Now you can take that as personal as you want. Tom Barrett can say that's bad government, but I would say it's bad policy the entire city is under. And if Milwaukee doesn't have a different perception, then once the pandemic is over, whenever that's going to be, we're going to be left with this mess of a police department that is tattered and torn, and people are not going to want to come to Milwaukee. We count on so much tourism dollars here, don't we? We build stuff, build new arenas, and build all sorts of stuff downtown. But if we can't comply with racial profiling in which we were sued for, then why would somebody from Chicago come to Milwaukee? Why would somebody from anywhere around the country who is black or brown want to come to this city when they are statistically more likely to have interaction with the police? And we know that when black and brown people have interaction with the police, it can end up deadly. I mean, that's it. I'm done. Y'all going to have me here forever. Can't do that. I got things to do today. There's an election tomorrow. Go and vote in person. There are 182 polling sites have been reduced to 168. Call the election commission if you need to know if your polling site has been closed or if it has been combined with another. Tomorrow, I guess we'll do our 1 hour election central or something like that. Thank you guys for your participation on this broadcast and all of your comments. And you guys have a great day. And I'll see you tomorrow, August 11th, for Election Day.